say, but I could do it another way. It's actually a training program. It's not a competition. And because it's a training program, there is a particular structure that you have to follow. And that's the structure that we are following. Now, the structure of the presentation, as you know, starts with an attention-getting opening. Please don't introduce yourself because you're known to everybody here. It's this audience. So don't say, I am so-and-so. You don't need to do that unless you have doubts about your identity, on this particular morning. It's possible. You start with the attention-getting opening. Then you go to a preview, which is to say, then you announce your topic. So today my topic is this, and announce it exactly, and not as a newspaper headline. Announce it as a sentence. Then you go to your preview, that I've divided my presentation into 3 sections, this, that, and the other. Then you go into each of the 3 sections. Then you recap. The recap is something like a preview, but you give a little, response. Like the preview that said, I'm going to speak today about, my first point will be why, for instance, the MCD is not responsible for this mess. Now you're not saying how and why. You're simply saying that's what you're going to talk about. Once you finish the main body, by this time the audience knows what you have said. So at the end, the recap is like the preview, but you add something. So you say, so today the first thing I spoke about was how the MCD is not responsible because it does not have the budget. That little because or some little statement will come in the recap, not in the preview. Because by this time the audience knows. And what you're doing is reminding. Now this, and then you have a closing. This sequence is already put up here. So you don't need to worry about whether I'm missing the sequence, it's here. I've written it for you. The use of the pointer. For those of you who are using graphics, there is a switch on the top left. You put it down and you get this little light here which shows it's on. And then there is the button that you normally press for anything, and that's your pointer. When you use a pointer, always in any kind of presentation, remember open-handed stance. So even if you're right-handed, you use your left hand. You don't close your body. So use your left hand to say what you want to say, right? And then keep it back switched off. So I'm going to keep it on the left, although it's rather than the right. You have this, of course, and you control the points here. In fact, this is a fairly ideal setting. Everything is just so. Everything's all connected and so on. When you come up, when your turn is called, you pull up your cue cards and come here. Again, because you've got this little baffle here, you can keep the cue cards. Some people spread them all out one by one, and as they finish, they just overturn them. Some people hold them in their hands. It gives them something to do. But when you hold them in your hands, those cue cards should look elegant. Some of them look fairly, like glorified bus tickets or something. It shouldn't be. When you come up with cue cards, they must look elegant on stage. If not, keep them away from what the audience can see. Speak naturally. The only sin in today's presentation, you can stutter, stammer, all that is accepted. The only sin is to say anything by heart. In which case you will find me a pretty cruel person. Then you will know what my real education has been. Graduation under Hitler, post-graduation under Osama bin Laden. I will stop you, interrupt you, ask questions, break your rhythm. Because that's the one thing that is not permitted here. All of you can speak. You're speaking to a particular structure. That's the only thing that you got to remember. Why are we having the TV here? Not just for the glamour, I know all of you are going to be glamorous. Someday you're going to be in the limelight, I'm sure. The idea is, while you are speaking here, you can't see the TV, so you won't be distracted by that. But the audience can see it, and you can learn several things from what looks well. For instance, here it's not going to happen, but supposing I make a gesture of looking at something, let's say on the CPU, and I do this. It's a very sudden gesture there. So you can't do all these terrible, quick gestures here. It looks okay live, but when you're on TV, it looks awful. Another thing on TV is we find a lot of people speaking about the happiest things. For instance, this year India celebrates the first time it has reached, let's say, the GDP per capita of Japan, and they will say, this year, we are happy to note that India. Smile when you say it. Show that you're enjoying what you're saying. Light up, relax your face. This year, I'm happy to tell you this. At the same time, you don't say, there was a terrible train accident yesterday, 2,000 people. Obviously, that's not right either, So, suit your expressions to the way what you're speaking about. If you're talking about art, look like you're enjoying it. You don't say, Michelangelo created this. Speak as you're enjoying what you're talking about. Okay? So, be relaxed, be yourself, and that's all you got to do. You're following a structure. As long as you're following a structure, nothing will go wrong. Right? Assuming you know your subject, which I'm sure all of you do. What else do I need to say? Okay. Everything. Yes. No questions. No, but there is another thing. I must say, we're all subject to Mother Nature. But keep Mother Nature in some control. One of the worst things that happen is that somebody moves while someone is speaking. Please don't do that. Avoid it. Okay? So what do? Just hold it. That's it. Now what happens, therefore, we've got 18 speakers, so after every 4.5 speakers we will have a break. Alright, so say first, so after 5 speakers we will have a break, then 4, and then 4, and then 5 or whatever. During those breaks, please don't make a mass migration to the toilet, why does it happen to be because somebody else is speaking, you got to rush to the toilet. Please don't do that, because I'm sure even in FSI that is considered an individual assignment, not a group assignment. Okay, so don't rush. I remember when I came to Delhi first from Bombay, which is my hometown, and I was in the public sector in STC, and I'm sure you'll find this in many of the ministry buildings, and STC was kind of crossing over from a typical government office to what they call a modern public sector thing. And we'd have these, all of us had not cabins, but those cubicles, the modern office way. So we had the cubicles for the officers around, and then you had the staff sitting kind of there, so everybody could see everybody. And one of the things I noticed here when I came was that, obviously the government is extremely efficient, because most of the ladies there were mostly middle-aged, 45, 50, 55 and all that. They spent their summer preparing for winter because, or their October at least, they would be knitting. So everybody is sitting in the office. I'm sure the government of India was still working, but everybody was knitting. Alright? Now knitting also has, I'm sure it's very interesting at the first time. After a while it gets even on their nerves. So they'd all be sitting, not doing any work at all, but I'm sure the woolen garments industry was very happily served. And then suddenly, have you seen, pigeons in one of these places like Kabutar Khana and things like that? There's a whole lot of them. Suddenly, for no apparent reason, one pigeon decides they want a change. So one of these women will slowly get up, holding aside, and everybody will get up like all these pigeons, say, "Chalo, latrine chalte hain," and the whole group will walk towards the so-called latrine. It sounds awful. Don't do it. So one by one, if you have to hold it, if you can't hold it, if that's necessary, yes, do it. So after 4 speakers, after first 5 speakers, we will have a break. But till then, unless absolutely necessary, please don't do. Please walk out while in between, and don't come in while the person is speaking. And only one person go out at a time. So that's about it. Let's get started, and we will call everybody by lots. Just a small correction here. Yes, please.
The introduction that come after the video.
First thing, elders, is the opening. Attention getting opening. You don't talk about your topic. You bring in the attention getting opening. Okay, whatever you want to say. In some cases, the attention getting opening is the explanation of the topic. Sometimes it's that. In some cases, it might be an incident, it might be an anecdote, it might be a story, whatever. But that comes first. When you've got the audience warmed up, not more than 1 minute usually, then you say, so today my topic is this. So you build up towards your topic. So by that time the audience is kind of, you're moving them into your focus. Then you give your preview. That's all given. Okay, good. You have to leave early because you're not well, so we will put you at number 3. Right? Unless you pick your own name first. 98.5% of people who pick up the wrong thing. People the most obvious one, that's worse.
No, the global is such. And the